In today's episode of Growing into Destiny Child Edition, we're just going to talk about training up your child. A lot of times I used to hear that growing up. It's a proverb. In Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, it says, "Train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, will not turn from it, or he'll never depart from it." So growing up, if you grew up in a Christian household, you heard that all the time, especially when parents are talking about how to deal with kids. Generally, it was for discipline or in terms of making sure your child stays in Christianity forever. But being a mother and really using the word of Yah as my guidance to assist me with raising two young girls by myself, I really asked for Yah's direction, looking just past what I've been taught due to tradition and church, to really understand what his words were saying to best apply them, even with not being in, the order that God had established of a husband and a wife as a family. Side note, just because you're not in a complete unit doesn't mean that your child is doomed to be a statistic, or you're doomed to be a statistic, or even that you'll miss out in terms of things that you would get originally. I'm not condoning single parenthood. I'm not condoning sex out of marriage. But if you're already there, like I am, and you're growing and you're learning, don't be dismayed for the situation, because it's not the end all. It really isn't. Side note ended. So anyway, back to training up your child and just appreciating. When I think of child appreciation and just things that I know our parents and their generation would say, that's foolishness. Why would I appreciate my child? I sacrifice for them. I put a roof over their head. I put food in their mouth. I put clothes on their back. I put them through school and blase, internship, life. I did it. But honestly, we have to realize, just like our parents, like you guys didn't have a guide, it was your first time. Life is first time for children. It's not like they're used to this. Hello, this is their first time here in a new world. They need some assistance and help too. So in terms of this whole idea of appreciation, I was just talking to y'all one day and I was all like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know. What do I do? I got 2 kids, 3 and under. I'm by myself. I work a job. I don't have some big community helping me. It's me, and when I can get my mom on the phone, her, and then my dad lives in Tennessee. He be trying, but hey, it's us. Like, what do we do? Sometimes, I'll get some assistance from her dad's side. But generally, this is a load that I carry by myself. And there's a lot of us millennials out there. This is a load that we carry by ourselves. So I'm like, what can we do to bridge a gap that we don't have that same disconnect that we have as millennials with our parents, that disconnect of communication, that disconnect of you, that disconnect of life in general? What can we do to make sure that our kids are, it was mainly my kids, but I wanted to apply for all kids. What can I do so that they're fully functioning in this society in your will, that they're not just out here floundering like fish, struggling? I don't want them to be like, the struggle is real. I want them to be like, the glory is real. Like, that is the saying that I want these kids in the next generation, after these kids in the 2018, whatever these kids are called, I don't know. That next generation, what is it that we can do so that they can say, the glory is real, not the struggle is real? And so God took me back to, like I said, this proverb in the 22nd chapter, 6th verse of training their child up. And I was all like, I know it's more than church, God. It's more than church, because you see, most of us millennials grew up in church, and look at where we are. Not in a bad way, not in terms of a bad thing, but there's just a disconnect. There's a disconnect that we have gotten from church, from communication, from our parents. There's a disconnect. And so I don't want them to grow up in that same disconnect and then having to press against walls to get to you, God, and press against bondage and just all these different things that were established in our childhood that makes it just harder for us to really experience the fruitfulness that that our parents talked about all the time in terms of adulthood. And so with reading that, he said, yes, train up a child, but how do you train someone? And I was all like, well, based on jobs and just in life that I've had, you have your courses and your speaking, but the meat of training comes from hands-on, working one-on-one. And he was like, exactly. And I'm like, exactly what? Training. To train up our child is for us to be an example to our child. So to appreciate your child is not just a materialistic thing, is what he was showing me. It's not what you give them. It's not you sacrificing at your job to make sure that their roof is over your head and food is in their mouth and that they get the best education, because those are things that I provide. For one, he's like, I provide the roof over their head. I provided you with the job. If you know the education choices and stuff that you guys do, that's your free will. You could choose whatever you want. You could choose they can go to college. You could choose they don't go to college. You could choose private school, public school, home school. You could choose that. But all of that doesn't matter if you don't train them to have a sound, moral character, to be a help in this world and not a hindrance, and a sound moral character to be one with themselves and who I made them, so that they're okay with being unique and not being so unique where they're trying to be outside of a box, but at the same time be inside of the box of the uniqueness, but being okay with who they are and who I've created them to be, and being okay in the path that I have for them no matter what. So I was like, wow, wait a minute, this is a lot. Can you break this down so I can actually digest and eat, because my head hurts? And so he was like, so in training a child, you're training yourself to be an example for them, because they're not just learning by words, they're learning by what they see. That's where they get a majority of their habits, their communication, their actions. It comes by what they see. So when your child is talking back and going like, don't get mad at the child, because they got that from somewhere, and 9 times out of 10 they got it from you. Example, my daughter, she just turned 3. 2, they call it terrible 2s. No, it's just the turn-up 2s. She was turning up to get to 3 to be terrific. Hopefully that's me speaking into her life. But anyway, as she was learning to communicate as a 2-year-old, I was starting to see a habit in her that I didn't like. And not even just that I didn't like, it's a habit that most people wouldn't like. It's that habit like, oh, I don't want that kid at my house. And it's a habit that I've seen in a lot of kids. It's they're just so, that technology. But saying like, shut up, whatever, or when they're like, okay, whatever. Like, why are you 2 with the attitude of a 16-year-old? You're 2. Like, you should be happy about cookies and colors. Like, what are you go? And I was like, what's going on? Why? Well, the way that Yah is, so gracious he is. Well, one day, I was doing something and I was working with my younger daughter, and my 3-year-old came up to me, mommy, mommy, mommy. And mommy, mommy, mommy. A long day, I just got off my job. I worked at a call center, been on the phone with people all day. They yelling, mad, happy, just, people in your ear all the time. I was like, stop saying my name. Leave me alone. Now, of course, I don't cuss around my kids, and I don't derogatory, negatory breakdown words like that I try not to use, but my inflection and my tonality is what I was communicating. So even though I wasn't saying get the F out of here, get out my face, when I was saying Ada, mommy needs a break, for her, she heard, even though it's mommy needs a break, she heard the anger, the tension in my voice, the frustration. So when she started speaking to my youngest daughter in frustration, I was like, oh snap, dang it, I need to change my communication style. Now I understand, we're human, things happen, emotions run high. I would love to say, well, then you need to just not say anything, go into a corner. But unfortunately, especially when you're a parent, you don't have that luxury all the time. Why? Because you are training that child. They're watching and seeing everything that you do. So even when you're in those moments where you just like, I just want to rip open the doors of life and just snatch you through and just, you can't do that. You can't just say whatever you want to say, because they're picking up on the habits of what you're saying. So a lot of times, even when I'm frustrated, I mean, this is a work in progress because I still talk to clenched teeth, but a lot of times I'll just be like, smile, because I don't want to come off harsh. So I smile first, and I speak to my child. Even if it's frustration, I speak through the smile, because I'm training her that you don't let your emotions dictate your communication. So I'm gonna say that one more time. You don't let your emotions dictate your communication, because that's a big issue that a lot of us have, is we let our emotion do the communicating and not the words and the knowledge and the steps of what needs to occur. So that's just an example of training your child. So with that, God has really been showing me I have to be an example. That's how you train your child. You can give them education, you can give them money and things and all that, whoop-de-doo. You can give them religion too, whoop-de-doo. But the real process comes in your everyday walk with them. How do they see you treating other people? Maybe you're really nice to your kids, but then how do you treat other people? Maybe you're not a single mom, or you're a married mom, and you're a spouse. How do you talk to your spouse? I can speak on when I used to be with their father. My oldest, she saw a lot of volatile communication, a lot of just, it was not good. It was bad. It was sometimes she all physical, but she saw that communication of, when I was frustrated with him, I just be like, I'd like, whatever, I don't want to talk to you right now. Or I used to fall asleep on him, like I was like, I'm not listening to you. So now I still see her do that sometimes. Like if you're saying something she doesn't want to hear, she'll be like, I'm asleep. And so you have to be aware of everything you do, how you interact with all people, your children and all the people around too, because they're watching you. Even when you don't think they're watching and you're talking to them and you're lying, they pick up on these things. These are all communication cues. And then even past that, if you want your child to be appreciative, be serving, giving, show them kindness. Don't always show them you taking, you receiving. You show them giving so they can understand to give. Give to them and explain to them the appreciation of things. Don't ever, like for me right now, I'm learning not to use the word my, because that's one thing I remember growing up. My, nothing ain't yours. The only thing that's yours is the breath that you're breathing. Well, if you don't want your child to be my, then you don't do my. My parents did. Well, my mom did my growing up. So I try not to let that be my song. So like when I'm speaking to my daughter, she's not like, oh, there's your car. And I'm like, no, that's not my car. That's our car. That's the family car. Mommy drives it, but you still ride. This car is just as important for you as it is for me. This is our home, not my home. She's like, I want to go to your home. No, this is our home. This is our place of residence. We live here together. This is our couch. These are our items. Everything is ours. It's instilling to her that sense of community and care. Don't just take things for granted and don't just treat things any type of way. Giving her that entitlement of being careful of things. Not saying you worship the things, but being careful when you treat things. So the same way you would treat your things, you treat other people things like that. So, those are just ways in terms of training your child, but in terms also training yourself. Now, what does all that have to do with child appreciation? That's the same thing I said. As God was revealing the training of it, He was saying, you see these things that you're learning by being a mother, these are things that you learn to appreciate as being a person. Appreciate your child, because in today's society, you know, people tell you wait to have kids. Kids are expensive. Like, the idea of having kids is almost, it has a negative connotation, because even when you're married, they're like, wait until you're in a financial place where you can do that. Even if you're in that you're never ready to have kids. You never, because it's a sacrifice past any other thing that even money can't buy or comprehend. And so God was telling me, appreciate your child, because I can say, when I had my first daughter, Ada, I didn't appreciate her. I knew she was a blessing. I was like, yay for the blessing, Jesus, but I didn't appreciate her. I still tried to live my own way, but just bring her along, instead of learning from what I could grasp from being in this situation, what I have to grasp, not only in terms of just sacrificing, but what I gained from being a mother. And so after having my second daughter, Adelia, it's like God is just kind of poof, like shifting my mind. Because just because you're a mother, you have a child, doesn't mean your mind will shift. Just because you're a father, just because you have kids, don't mean your mind will shift. You have to ask to learn how to appreciate. So with having Adelia, I really began to realize it started off with communication. I did not want my daughter to communicate any type of way with her sister, and I didn't want our communication to be broken because of things that I've done that affected her, and then later on down the line she's blaming me, or she can't forgive people, or she can't grasp things because of that brokenness that I caused as a parent. Most of the times it's lack of knowledge, but we have to be able to want to learn too. So appreciating her for letting me, I appreciate her for the growth that it's caused me, by ultimately appreciating God for giving both of them, Ada and Adelia, to me to grow, and as a person that by myself I couldn't have grown as. Just to throw an example, just because, I mean, all I can really do is talk about from my life experience. I couldn't talk for anyone else because I'm not them. The father of my children, he has opted to be out of their lives. He said he doesn't want any part of them. He doesn't want to be, he said he wasn't ready. He's like, I'm not ready. I don't want to be there. That's fine. That's his choice. But the thing about it is, one thing that I've learned being a parent, you being away will never make you ready. Even you being there sometimes won't even prepare you to be a parent. You have to ask God to really shift. Ask Yah to shift in you the knowledge of what it is when he created the relationship of parenting, what it is that he wanted to happen. Because when I first had my first daughter, Ada, because of my own selfish intent, we lived in places we shouldn't have lived in. We were homeless. We were in many jacked up situations because of what I wanted to get from parenting, what I was doing, what I was focused on. Not learning to appreciate her, not learning how to train your child, knowing that whatever you do to your child, that's training them. That's training them. So, of course, when God said train a child in the way that he should go, he will never depart from it, it's a twofold thing. Because no matter what you do, you're training your child. No matter how you live, you're training your child. So you can train your child to be a help or a hindrance, basically. Someone who's not doing what they should be doing in this world. That you're hindering. Even if you're doing something but you're not doing what you're supposed to do, you could be hindering. So either you're hindering God's movement, Yah's movement, or you're helping Yah's movement. You're either being purposeful in your actions or you're not being purposeful in your actions. So knowing this, that really shifted my mindset, that no matter what I do in my life, I'm training my children. I can either train my children to be of a poor spirit, to have a negative mentality, to be broken, to continue in cycles of negativity and cycles of brokenness, or I can train my children to live in cycles of success with all glory goes to Yah, in cycles of faith of no matter what happens, even though I don't see it right now, because I know what I've been promised is going to be there. your life is just training your child on their life. So you can either appreciate your children and train them into a life of not financial success, but overall success in terms of communication, in terms of moral standard, a good moral standard that even when people aren't watching, they're still doing the good things that they should. The forgiveness, not carrying that the toxicity of life or other people, understanding that their actions are the only things they can control, no one else's. Having that understanding of self and how their self is in this earth for a reason and how to move accordingly, not just move any old way. How to move and be in the places where you should be and not where you shouldn't be. Or you can train your child to just be here until they die. Never achieving the things that y'all had for their plans, never achieving the goals that was set out for them, never even achieving a idea of self. So that is basically just the first episode. So just to kind of wrap it up, appreciating your children by how you train them. Show that appreciation to your children based on how you train them. You can either train them to succeed, or you can train them, I won't call it failure, but you can train them to just be here, to survive. You can train them to survive. So I thank you once again for watching Mommy Moments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. If you want to talk about anything, you have any comments or questions you want answered, or you just want to comment and say something negative, good. I mean, we all have our opinions, and I'm not here to knock anyone's opinions down. Go ahead, comment, like, subscribe. Instagram, Facebook, mommy_moments_810. So yeah, go ahead. Reach out to me. I'm more than willing to talk and encourage. I love to encourage. That's my ultimate goal with Mommy Moments, is to encourage. Encourage specifically parents, specifically millennial parents. But if anyone else is affected and you like it and you want more, just let me know. So I'll be coming back next week with the next part in terms of growing into destiny. Oh, it'll be a good one. A good one. That good old discipline. That good old discipline, child edition. Ooh, I know y'all ready for this one. So many ways for discipline. It's just it's going to be a great one. So thank you guys for tuning in. You have a blessed week. Bye.